Hello, welcome to Raymond Castile's Basement of Horror. Today we're going to look at these. Jakks Pacific. Jakks Pacific Universal Monsters. Every time I say the name of this company, I get a little tongue twisted. Jakks Pacific. I want to say Jakks Pacific. Like Mr. Jack. He's being very specific today. Jakks Pacific. Specifically Jack. But that's not the name. It's Jakks Pacific, like the Pacific Ocean. Well, let's find out a little bit about Jakks Pacific. See, I almost said Jakks Pacific. Jakks Pacific. It's named after Jack Friedman, the founder of the company. Jack founded, it's a U.S. company, by the way. Jack founded Jakks Pacific in 1995. And they bought up a bunch of other companies. Many names that didn't mean a whole lot to me, but there were a few that stood out. Remco, Child Guidance, Trendmasters, which was based in the St. Louis area, near where I am at this very moment. They bought all these other, that's just a sample. They bought many other companies, and they're still around today. Jakks Pacific. Still in business today. Mr. Friedman passed away, but the company is still in business. I was going to say the company is still going strong. I don't know how strong they're going, but they're still in business, and it seems like they've got a lot of products. And we're going to look at, oh, there's Billy. I wish he'd jump up here. He's right there. You haven't seen him in so long. I wish he'd come up and say hello. Well, anyway, so Jakks Pacific. In 2003, they signed a deal with Universal Studios. And I've seen dates on these toys, people saying that they came out in 2003, but I read a press release from September 2003 that talks about these hitting store shelves in spring of 2004. So I'm going to say these are 2004 toys. They signed a deal with Universal that included these traditional or golden age Universal monsters, but also the monsters from the movie Van Helsing. This is the Stephen Sommers directed film starring Hugh Jackman. So they made Van Helsing movie monsters, also Universal Studios. That's a Universal Studios movie, Van Helsing. So the monsters from that movie are, technically modern Universal monsters. But also part of the deal included the original 30s, 40s Universal monsters. So they signed a deal for both at the same time. And they did make the Van Helsing movie monsters as well. Well, these are movie monsters. They made the Van Helsing monsters, and they made these OG monsters. Jakks already had a relationship with Universal and probably Stephen Sommers, because they made action figures based on the Stephen Sommers film, The Mummy Returns, starring Brendan Fraser, and those figures are from 2001. The Mummy Returns are from 2001, those action figures. I guess they must have done well for Jakks because they came back for a second helping. And I don't think, I'm assuming the Van Helsing toys didn't do as well for them as The Mummy Returns, just because the movie Van Helsing was poorly received, and my memory is that the merchandising warmed pegs for a long time. So in 2004, they came out with these original 1930s, 1940s Karloff, Lugosi, Cheney Universal monsters, but they only made 3 characters: Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolf Man. And they made them 3 times. They made color versions, black and white versions, and individually carded versions. So I've got back here I've got the color boxed ones, and I've got the black and white boxed ones. But then they also made them without the box, without the diorama parts, just individual carded figures. So they made these same figures 3 times. They had planned to do Karis, the mummy Karis, and the creature from the Black Lagoon, Metaluna mutant, a Bela Lugosi Frankenstein from Frankenstein Meets the Wolf Man, with a Bela Lugosi likeness. So they were planning several other figures that they never did. They didn't get them off the ground. I don't know why they did these 3 times and didn't do any of those other characters, which would have comprised a second and third series. They only did these just 3. It's a set with 9 figures, but only 3 characters. I don't have the individually carded ones. I have these boxed ones. I bought these at Toys R Us when they were brand new. By the time the carded ones came out, these were still collecting dust, and they were a dud at retail, so I wasn't really interested in the carded ones. And I think I associated the carded ones with the Van Helsing figures, which were carded, and they seemed to go with those a little more, and I didn't like the Van Helsing movie. I didn't buy any of those toys. I did see Van Helsing first run at the theater. Did not like it. Did not like it at all. And I was okay with The Mummy and The Mummy Returns. I saw The Mummy on home video. Mummy Returns I saw at the theater. And, I liked them, but I didn't love them. They were okay for what they were. Just turn of the century Indiana Jones knockoffs. But, the cast was likable. It was just good that there was a franchise called The Mummy with a villain named Imhotep and a supporting character named Ardith Bey. And that was a big hit. And people around the world were loving a mummy movie about Imhotep. That was great. I liked that. It would have been nice if it was more like the 30s, 40s movies, but it wasn't. Okay, whatever. But people were lining up to see mummy movies, so that was good. I mean, I liked that part of it. And Brendan Fraser was charismatic, and the whole cast was charismatic, and so it was likable. They were harmless movies. And I liked Hugh Jackman, so I thought I would like Van Helsing, but yeah, I didn't like it. Didn't like it. I don't really remember why I didn't like it. I just remember I did not like it. I sat there at the theater and just like, I don't think so. And then afterward, I didn't want any of the merchandise. Well, it's interesting that that Trendmasters made the action figures for the first Stephen Sommers Mummy movie, but Jakks Pacific made the figures for the second Mummy movie and Van Helsing. And then Jakks also bought up Trendmasters, so I'm wondering if there's a causality there, if there's a connection. I don't really have a whole lot more to say about Jakks Pacific and Universal, except in that press release, they're looking ahead towards Van Helsing figures in 2004 and justifying why they're going to make non-Van Helsing monster figures as well as the Van Helsing branded monster figures. And an executive from Jakks Pacific in this press release says, Universal's Van Helsing is to monsters what Jurassic Park is to dinosaurs. So it's like a rising tide raises all ships. They think that the popularity of this Van Helsing movie is going to translate to popularity for monsters in general. So it made sense to not only make the Van Helsing movie monsters, but also make the 30s, 40s movie monsters. Well, let's look at this. Start with, since they're right in front of me, start with the black and white ones. Also, they're easier to see because of the, you'll see in a minute, the box design makes the color ones kind of hard to see. Well, not kind of, very hard to see. There's Frankenstein. He's based on the Bride of Frankenstein in that chair. So looking at it on camera, it doesn't look bad at all. It looks like a nice diorama, almost like a model kit or something. So yeah, this looks pretty cool. And that is the black and white version, or silver screen. What else can I show you on these boxes? Here's the back. And each of these has an action feature where their arms raise up or they do something. I remember all that goofy clip art that Universal was pushing at the time. And you know, that's interesting. It actually specifies on here the Bride of Frankenstein. So this is specifically based on the Bride of Frankenstein, which is why he's in this chair. That's a scene from the Bride of Frankenstein. He's not in a chair like that in the original Frankenstein. And the sides have pretty rudimentary artwork. Just a haunted castle there. And these boxes, they come apart easily. You can see what's going on with this one. So be aware of that if you buy these, that they start popping apart. Let's look at the Wolf Man. And you know, before today, really, I kind of dismissed these black and white ones, but looking at them now, I think they might be the superior versions between the black and white and color, and it's because of the way they're packaged. They're this more open-looking package where you can actually see the toy, I think, is the better way to display these. And I like the black and white look in the diorama setting because it does sort of look like a scene from the movie. And these are not exactly the most film-accurate depictions of all time. I mean, they're not bad, but they're not sideshow or NECA quality. And he has a little Lawrence Talbot head in there. We might get a better look at that with the color one. And there's a plate behind him which is supposed to be a backdrop, and it has a circular moon. I think it's just an opening and you can shine light through it. Interesting that they promote Van Helsing on the back. It doesn't show the toys, but it has the movie title coming May 2004. So they're using these to promote Van Helsing, and maybe they thought it was worth making these just as a kind of a promotional campaign to promote the other film. It says that it contains, what's this? Moon changes from half to full. So this backdrop I was telling you about, I guess there must be an action feature that it has an opening, I think, and I guess there's something that slides and changes it from half to full. I don't know. It's hard to see back there. But it says that in addition to this Larry Talbot head, that it has limbs. But I don't see the limbs. They might be under the base, or who knows, maybe they don't, maybe there are no limbs, maybe that's a mistake. It says it has not just the head, but the limbs too. And that looks like it's a pretty good Cheney Jr. in there. I don't know if you can see it very well on that camera there, but to the naked eye, it's a pretty decent Cheney Jr. Maybe he'll be easier to see on the color one, we'll see. So not a bad Wolfman. Not a bad Wolfman. Let's take a look at Dracula. All right. Now this is these are black and white, silver screen, but I guess they didn't want to splurge for two different cape designs on Dracula. They just said, what the heck, one's good enough. Really, if they wanted to do one cape for both figures, it would have been more screen accurate to make the cape with a gray or silver lining. And then that would have worked for either color or black and white. Because apparently the cape that Bela actually used in the film has a gray or maybe a silverish kind of a lining. I've heard different things about the lining, but it was not red in the original film, for sure. It was not a red lining. Although the promotional material, even for that first film, I don't know if that's accurate. Certainly for the Real Art re-release, there's material that shows the lining is like movie paper, lobby cards, and posters that depict a red lining. There's Dracula, and I wouldn't call that a good Bela Lugosi likeness, but for a Dracula figure, it's not bad. And the diorama looks nice. That's the thing that really saves these figures. They have a nice diorama design, and when you see them in the package like this. That looks good on camera right now when I'm looking at this little screen. That looks pretty good. That looks like a nice Dracula scene. I like what I'm seeing there. Here's what's on the sides. They all have something different on the side, but it's pretty rudimentary. But it is a different design on the side of each box. One thing I better make sure you see this if I can. I don't know if it's possible. Yeah, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. You can see that there's that arch, but I don't know if you can see that there's a coffin. See that? There you go. There's a coffin behind there. So he actually has a coffin, not just an arch. He has a coffin. There you go. He has a complete coffin behind that arch. That's a pretty good accessory. NECA makes you pay an extra $50 for a coffin. And I'm not trying the action feature on these. Oh, watch the moon transform. No, we're not going to do that. If you saw the Yeti episode. Oh, brother. Yeah, we're not operating these toys. These are, as Johnny Shedrick would say, they're for museum purposes only. So we're not operating these things. Okay, let's look at the color ones if we can. Let's get them over here. Same three characters. Not a lot of variety here. Well, we just looked at Dracula. So here's another Dracula. Same toys, except this is the color version. This is authentic Bela Lugosi likeness. And I say Bela. It's my understanding that Bela Jr. pronounces it Bela, not Bella. So unless I hear otherwise, I pronounce it Bela, not Bella. Anyway, here's Bela Lugosi. And this is authentic Bela Lugosi likeness. That doesn't look like Bela Lugosi to me. It doesn't look anything like him, actually. I don't know who that looks like, but not Bela. So let's, I mean, this box, it's very, as you'll see, these color boxes are very different, completely different. It's not just the difference in color. The design of these boxes is completely different. And I like how there's a little Aurora model kit type of rat up there. I mean, it looks like it might even be modeled right off the Aurora model kit rat. I don't know. But anyway, here's the blood red Dracula box. I mean, it does, you know, to the naked eye, these seem kind of meh. But on camera, they come alive on camera. They look a lot better on camera than they do in person. So there's the authentic, see, it says right there, the authentic Bela Lugosi likeness. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm not seeing it. But you can see how this is more, it has more color. It actually has this medallion with the red ribbon. I guess there's color in his face, in his hand. So, you know, there's some more color there. And there's that rat I was telling you about. Doesn't that look like an Aurora rat? An Aurora model kit rat. Has a image from the film. That looks like, kind of reminds me of the Fun Stuff expanding Dracula. That little image there. And there's the bat that's on the side of the black and white box. It's on the front here. Pretty fancy box, actually. And there's the coffin. Yeah, it's hard to see. There, yeah, there we go. I think you can see it. Well, as good as it's going to get it. I think you can see it. Yeah. There we go. It's more of a crate, like something that'd be on the Demeter, than the more stylish coffin that you would expect him to have. Here's the other side of the box. And these clip art people that Universal was using in their licensed products, these style guide people, they look so much more like 1950s pedestrians running from a giant tarantula or a deadly mantis. They look like 50s humans, not 30s or 40s. I mean, doesn't that look more like people from a 50s movie? It seems like there'd be a giant bug chasing them. There's the Van Helsing thing again. It's really because of that Van Helsing movie that we got this stuff. And you know, that's interesting. We have the Universal Monsters blood splatter logo on these color ones. There's the blood splatter logo like the Sideshow monsters. And then we've got that logo on these black and white ones. So it's interesting that they had two different logos for these things. All right, let's put Dracula back. And there's no, on Dracula, there's no try me action feature on the back of the box. So there's Frankenstein from Bride of Frankenstein. And it says The Bride of Frankenstein, so you'd expect the bride to be in that box, but she's not. It's the Frankenstein monster. And that's the scene that this is based on. These are interesting colors on these boxes. He has an action feature. He breaks free from his chains. Authentic Boris Karloff likeness. Well, kind of like the Bela likeness. I'm not too sure about that. That does not look like Boris Karloff to me. What about that resembles Boris Karloff? I mean, it's a Frankenstein monster. It's a universal Frankenstein, but how is that Boris Karloff? At least his jacket isn't green. I'm trying to decide, is there some green in there? I mean, he's kind of, nah, it's gray. It's definitely gray. You could say it's, if you use your imagination, if you're colorblind, you might say it's a little greenish. But to the naked eye, it's gray. I'm looking at this screen, and it does look just a little bit greenish on the screen, but I think that's just an optical illusion. I think it's gray. So he does not have a green jacket. That's good. He has a gray jacket. Let me make sure that I'm not imagining things here. It's gray. It is not green. That is a gray jacket. Definitely a gray jacket. Not a green jacket. Thank goodness. So that makes it impressive right there. The fact that he has a gray jacket and not a green jacket. I mean, it'd be nice if he had a black jacket. That would be even better, but at least he doesn't have a green jacket. There's the side. Not a lot to see from the side. Little castle. As far as the toy is concerned, not a whole lot to be seen from the side. Here's the back, same old design from the back, but in this case, unlike the Dracula, you have that action feature, Try Me. And the Van Helsing advertisement. I'm pushing on it and I feel some resistance, like, nah. Not gonna do it. Yeah, I pushed on it, I was like, resistance, forget it. I'm not gonna break it. It's probably never been fully depressed. Okay, let's look at Wolfman. In Wolfman, the Try Me is like a knob to turn to make the moon change. We're not going to do that either. Does this say an authentic, yes, authentic Loncini Jr. likeness? Well, in this case, I think it has a leg to stand on. So here's the Wolfman. Now this box design and the way this is arranged, this is kind of stupid because look where the Wolfman is. He's behind this tree. Why not put him on the other side? Put that tree behind the illustrated tree and then put Wolfman out where we can see him. Maybe they're trying to make him look mysterious, like he's crouching behind a tree, crouching in the shadows, but that's not the way it comes off. It just seems like for some reason they're obscuring the toy. So when you look through the window, you don't really get a good look at the toy. You have to angle it to really see him. It's hard to get a good look at him in there because of that. He's in his little environment with his tree. There's the authentic likeness. And there's the scene from the movie. I'm getting more of an appreciation for the art on these packages as I look at them now. lot to be seen from the side on this one. Really, Dracula is the only one that has something to be seen from the side, because then you can see his coffin. Oh my goodness, look at that. What's going on there? Look at that art. That's weird. Who is that? But don't you see how it for sure, it looks like a giant insect should be chasing them, not a wolf man. Here's the back. And in this case, they're all turning into the Hulk. Now here we go. So now we can get a better look at Lawrence Talbot, hopefully, can we? So that is the Lon Chaney Jr. head. And you can put that, look how it's the head on this illustration, that's cute. You can put that on the Wolfman's body. And I don't know if he has human hands and feet, or if you end up with a Larry Talbot head, but Wolfman hands and feet. It says head and limbs, but I don't see any limbs in there. And they might be under the base or something. It says head and limbs, but I don't see the limbs. Well, there we go. What can we say about these? I had put off showing you these for a while. I was going to do these a couple of years ago. I couldn't find them all. I knew I had them, but I could find 4 of the 6, and I thought, did I just not buy the other 2? Or I was sure I'd bought all 6, but it took me a while to finally digging around for something else. I uncovered the other 2, so I had all 6 to show you. And I mean, they're not the most exciting toy line in the world, but we had the Yeti, and we're going to have 1 or 2 more cryptid-oriented episodes. I noticed that several of the episodes I had planned for the end of the year were cryptid-oriented, and I thought that's too much cryptozoology at once. We need to mix it up a little bit with some universal monsters or something else. So I decided to insert these in the middle of the cryptids, so to break that up a little bit. I don't have a whole lot to tell you about these. They've never been very popular. They've never made collectors excited. I don't hear any buzz about them. No one ever talks about them. Much like the Toy Island Universal Monsters that we covered, I think that was last season. The carded Toy Island monsters, they include that Build-A-Monster Frankenstein. That line doesn't get any love either. But you know, the prices on those, as I recall, checking back when I did that episode, some of the prices were getting up there on that line. I did look at some eBay prices for these, and it was nothing spectacular. But I never hear anybody talk about them or talk about how much they like them or how much they want to collect the set or anything like that. They don't seem to get a lot of love. And I think it's because they came out in this weird time after the Sideshow series. And anything after that just seemed anticlimactic. So the Toy Island set and this set both seemed kind of boring in comparison to the Toy Island figures, which had just run their course in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then you had the Diamond Select series, which was really Sideshow Part 2. It seemed like almost knockoff Sideshow. It was Sideshow again, only not as good. And that was the last time I think that anyone was really excited about Universal Monsters line. The the MC and then the Mego monsters generated some interest, but the MCs, those were also Diamond Select. They came out at the same time as those PVC Diamond Select figures, so they were part of that. And there was a little bit of buzz there. And the Mego figures, there was a little bit of buzz there. But we haven't had anything like the NECA figures, which really ignited collector interest. We haven't had anything like that since the Sideshow figures. I guess it's just a matter of quality. I mean, before the Sideshow, the Hasbros didn't really generate much interest. Playco didn't generate much interest. And even the Motionettes didn't really catch any fire in the 90s. I mean, yes, now, like the Mummy and some others are sought after. But at the time, there wasn't a lot of interest in those Telcos. And the Imperial monsters, no one really cared about those. It wasn't, you had to go all the way back to the Remco monsters to find a line that really made people excited. So as far as lines that became really classic and made kids excited, later made collectors excited, you've got Remcos, and then all the way 20 years later to Sideshow, and then Sideshow 20 years later to NECA. I guess it's like Aurora, Azrak Hanway, Remco, Sideshow, NECA. Those are the exciting Universal Monsters toy or model lines that really got people revved up to buy them, collect them, play with them. Those are the really, top tier classic lines, and these just, they can't compete with that. But they're interesting, they're cool, I'm glad I own them, and they do have an appeal, just that you gotta look at them a certain way. I don't know how interesting they are out of the box, but in these boxes, in their own little terrariums, they're like little environment, like a monster that you captured in its environment. You've got it in a little enclosure to study it. They're kind of cool in these window boxes where you're looking into their world. And the dioramas are kind of neat, and they look appropriate for the character. I think if the supposed authentic likenesses really were authentic, I think there'd be a lot more respect for these toys. I think they're hurt by the generic likeness. Although the Wolfman looks pretty good, and Larry Talbot, his head looks like Cheney Jr., and that doesn't seem to help it as far as pumping up any collector interest now or any child interest at the time. So they're not iconic toys, but they're part of the history of Universal Monsters toys, and part of the history of 21st century Universal Monsters toys. I think we'll wrap it up there. I don't have a whole lot more to say about these things, except they're interesting. Glad to show them to you. And the next episode or two will be more cryptid or folklore oriented. At least that's the plan. I haven't shot them yet. I might change my plans, but my plan is to lean a little more towards cryptid, paranormal, folklore type critters heading into the Christmas season. Which, I guess by the time you see this, we're in the Christmas season. I'm not really dressed for Christmas, but for you, you're probably in red and green watching this right now. And I'm probably in red and green as you're watching it. But it's not Christmas yet. Okay. Yeah, I think this is the episode I'm submitting for Academy consideration. Thanks a lot. I haven't said this season yet, but if you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to this channel. See the beautiful animation, isn't it lovely? Well, it's gone now, but subscribe to the channel, and because this episode was so great, you want to see more episodes like this, I'm sure. You need more of this in your life. and go to our Facebook page. There's a link in the description. Go to our Facebook page, and then you can talk to other monster collectors, probably more interesting than me. And you can share notes and show them pictures of your collection. And you can react to pictures that they post and talk all about monsters and keep up to date on what's going on with the world of monster toys. So join the Basement of Horror Facebook group. Okay, I was so hoping Billy would jump up here. It's been a long time since he's jumped up on this table. He was there. He just won't jump up on the table anymore. I don't know why. He's on strike. I mean, doesn't he know that the actor's strike is over? It's okay. He's not a scab. He can jump up on this table and it's perfectly okay. The SAG will not say a word. He can jump right up here. I don't know what to do. I could put a dish of food here to entice him. Maybe I should do that. Okay, happy holidays, whatever time you're watching this. Or if you're watching it in July, well, it's Christmas in July. Thank you for watching. Until next time, the one who dies with the most toys is dead.